hybrid. Oh, okay, we're recording this, and that's what Shelley just started. So if you have friends that couldn't come this morning or couldn't be here on Zoom, make sure that you share the link when it comes out over email, because we want everyone to know about Scott Jablow and his run for mayor. And we're going to learn a lot about Scott this morning. Scott's my neighbor, actually. So I might learn things I don't even know about Scott, even though he's my neighbor. So welcome. This is our first hybrid meeting. Yeah, we're going to refine this process as we go. We have some equipment that we need to buy, but Al Camella was kind enough today to help us out and share his equipment with us so that we could have this level of hybrid meeting. So thank you so much for that, Al. Oh boy, it's getting there. October 6th is when the ballots will be mailed. So you'll probably get them in your mailboxes, because I know you're all signed up for vote by mail, right? By about October 8th. We have less than a month to make sure that we get all the information that we need to out to every voter that's going to vote Democratic. It's such a critical election. I don't know that we've had a midterm election since I have been involved in this. It is as important as this midterm election. So if you haven't had a chance to volunteer, please step up. I will put a link in the chat, and then perhaps later people, maybe at the end of the meeting, I will give you that information verbally so you can write it down if you can't see the chat. But we have all sorts of opportunities for volunteering. If you like to write postcards, we have a postcard program now that is happening that's going to support Scott Jablow's candidacy through the indivisible groups in town. We have a great organizer. Her name is Lama, and I will put her information in the chat. And she is organizing canvassing, door-to-door knocking, and talking to voters, and phone banking. If you don't get it out of the chat or you miss the end of the meeting, you can always call the office and get all of this information. Toby has been kind enough to become our sign depot this year for candidate signs. I don't know where she is on how many signs she has left, but if you'd like to have signs up in your yard, please look at the chat or call the office so you can get a hold of Toby. She'll set it all up for you. You just pick it up, no contact. She has it all set up for you. And we're giving everybody an American flag, which I don't have one here. So please get those if you're interested. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about
Kathy, I'm here. I'll just say I have a lot of signs.
You have a lot of signs. Okay, cool. Great, Toby. So maybe you can put your information in the chat. That'd be great. Some important upcoming events we have tonight at 7 p.m. DORR is presenting a movie at Mary Fisher Theater. It's not yet sold out, called Inherit the Wind. And it's a great movie, and it's going to be a great audience. And there's going to be a conversation about the movie, a panel after the movie. So please come to watch the movie and support DORR. That's 7 p.m. at Mary Fisher tonight. And then the other really, really important thing that I want to announce is we are having a DORR picnic. It is going to be October 2nd. It's going to be at the Hub. And please go online we're asking for a small donation to attend, and you can get a lunch. The Hillside Deli has been working with us, and they're providing these wonderful picnic lunches. So please go on and sign up as soon as you can. It's online, and there have been emails that have come out about it too. Invite your friends, invite your family, invite your neighbors. Let's get a ton of people there. So I can see you all now. Hello. I couldn't see you before. So welcome to the DORR Breakfast. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Kinsella, and she's going to lead the rest of the meeting.
Start again.
Hi, everybody. Good to have a practice run. Thank you for being here. It is so good to be with people in person. Yay. It's been over 2 years. This is a small but full room. So thank you for coming. And thank you to everybody who's joining us on Zoom. Technology is wonderful. It's great. We get to have these hybrid meetings. People have been able to join us that haven't been with us previously because of that technology. And there are people, I see some new faces here in the audience today live too. So thank you. If you've never been to a DORR meeting before, just raise your hand so we can say welcome. Welcome. Wow. 7 people in the audience. Great. Thank you so much. I want to thank the Sedona Community Center for working with us and making this happen in this location. I think this is going to be a great partnership going forward, and it's Director Marjorie, who has just got such a wonderful sense of community. And this is what a community center does. It brings people together, and DORR, that's what we do. We bring people together. So it's a match made in heaven. I want to thank Al. I know that Kathy did that, but you can't, if you're on Zoom, you can't see the technology that's set up across the front of this room. It is impressive. We look like we're in a major convention here or something. It's really good going. And Toby, thank you so much for stepping in and helping and being the liaison with all that. Why am I sitting up here? Well, Kathy Rutherford is out of town. And then Frankie, our vice president, is out of town. And Ellen, our program chair, unfortunately lost her father and is out of town. So we went down the DORR board list and got to me. I am your default. So thank you for putting up with me today. I am happy to be with everybody. There are refreshments here, hoping that everybody has a chance to have some of that. Our main thrust here today is to meet and speak with our DORR endorsed candidate for the mayor of Sedona, Scott Jablow. Scott is the definition of a community-minded, dedicated person. Scott has served on the fire board. Scott has served on the police pension board. Scott has been on planning and zoning commission. Scott has been 8 years on the council, 2 years, the last 2 years as the vice mayor, which is a position voted by his colleagues on the council. So you can see the faith that we have in Scott. Scott has a slew of endorsements all around the community, but the best thing Scott is when you hear Scott speak for himself, because Scott always speaks from the heart. So please join me in welcoming Scott Jablow.
Thank you, Kathy. That's a very nice introduction. I appreciate it. Before I get involved or give you the information about me, I want to just thank DORR. I have missed these kind of events, these breakfasts. And since I've been in town and even found out about DORR, I had never missed a breakfast, ever. So, for those who are new, when you get to know other DORR members, we're really a great group of people dedicated to community, but also just friendly and nice. And they've always kept me involved. And I can't say enough good things about the people who run DORR, the people who are members. I've been to all the events. For the new people here, just thank you for getting involved. I think you're going to be as thrilled with the people here in the organization as I have been for so many years. So thank you all for coming. So a little bit about me. You want to go into introductions?
Yeah,
or
please just.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
This is a little different for me, so it's I'm a little rough around the edges, but nothing is scripted at all. It's all from the heart, like Kathy said. I've been here. I'm a resident here for 12 years. I've been owner, and my wife has been here for 15 years. We got stuck in a housing crunch back in 06 and 07. Nothing like what it is now. It was far worse back then. But I came from a law enforcement background for 31 years. I worked for an agency called the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. They had a little building that sort of fell down, was knocked down back in 2001. The World Trade Center. I worked for that agency.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we good?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Somebody just dropped something. But I came here, which I retired after 31 years in law enforcement, all that time giving to my community. I worked at Kennedy Airport, which is like a big city, and we have people from all walks of life. Every country comes into Kennedy Airport to go to the UN General Assembly. So I really learned long ago and through my law enforcement training on how to work with all people. Doesn't make a difference what nationality you are, what religion you are, what you believe in. We work with everybody, and many times in times of grief and loss. So I was able to work with heads of nations and really get to appreciate everybody. So also while I was back east, I was a community leader, or what they call back east is a civic leader. For 20 years, I worked for my organization to do good, positive things for the community. I brought all that here and all the learnings here, and I didn't plan on doing anything except climbing some mountains and getting involved. And then I met some people who got me involved in other political issues that were very positive. There was an issue for those who are here a long time. You may remember there's a problem with the fire station on 179, or the lack thereof. There was a group of people that were elected into the fire board that wanted nothing to do with emergency responders and didn't want to build a fire station. And I was able to be part of the group to get that fire station built. I became a member of the fire board, and I helped build that fire station, not physically built, but supported it with my knowledge and with my outreach to people. And we built the fire station number 6, where, by the way, going back to my law enforcement background with the Port Authority, I was able to bring a steel girder from the World Trade Center, one of the last remaining girders, to Fire Station 6. And I was the lead on building a memorial for the World Trade Center with no taxpayer dollars. I raised, with a group of other people, $95,000. And every year on 9/11, we have a memorial service there. And it's quite lovely, but it's also eye-opening for people who, and there's a lot of people who were there or lost somebody. So it's really nice. So that's a little bit about my background before I came to Sedona. And since Kathy went over what I've done since I've been in Sedona, I just love being on city council, and I want to continue.
It's funny though, when Scott mentioned that he didn't physically build the fire station, but he has physically built things. He's been an active volunteer with Habitat for Humanity,
Right.
actually swinging that hammer and doing that physical work. So
Well, you have to give back. I mean, this is what I've done my whole life, is giving back. I retired here. I'm not going to really work. So what am I going to do? And when I have new neighbors that retire here, they say, well, what do we do other than hike? You give back. You give back here at the community center, the Humane Society, which is a great organization that I joined on board with. There's so many organizations. Meals on Wheels is a fantastic group. They work through here. There's so many places you can give back. So this is my way of giving back. So, and Habitat for Humanity is just one small item that I like to work with as well.
So Scott, before we take questions from the audience, just want to ask, so you've been on the council for 8 years. You've seen a lot of changes that have happened in Sedona. You've heard a lot of different people that are have different priorities, but what are your priorities? What is it you want to tackle as mayor?
Well, up until a few months ago, it was, we need housing. We need either workforce housing, or we need housing for us. People who are like us, and myself included, came here to retire. There's no longer housing for us either. There's no longer housing for our workforce. There's, it's really a problem. And it all happened because the state mandated short-term rentals. But I say that that's one of my primary goals. But about a month ago, we had a presentation by the Northern Arizona Healthcare, and what they were bringing, or lack thereof, to the Verde Valley in Sedona. And they wanted to downgrade the Cottonwood Hospital to a community hospital from a level 1 hospital. And they were still talking about closing the emergency room. Yeah. So what I plan on doing is, I've already spoken, we just came back, Kathy and I came back from a conference a couple of weeks ago. But once I'm mayor, the mayor alone has the capability of meeting with other mayors throughout the Verde Valley and councils and their managers. I want to work together with all these mayors and look at what our healthcare is and what our healthcare isn't. They don't answer to us. They don't work for us. It's not a nonprofit hospital. It's a profit-making organization. So they have their own board. But I think the time has come to let them know we're done. I can't tell you how many times I look on, and I'm all over social media for those, you may see my name there on Facebook and next door. But how many times people say that they had an appointment with a doctor, primary care doctor, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
And the appointment was canceled. Well, what do? Now, I had looked, my wife had looked for, to change doctors about 2 years ago. There's no selection. You have to go down to Phoenix or possibly to Flagstaff, and even that's a chore, to find a doctor. So I want to really attack the problem. So like I said, I want to work with the mayors and councils and managers. And I spoke to some of the other mayors that are moving forward, that they were elected forward. And I said, we have a problem. I said, oh, we know, but we haven't been organized on that. Well, I want to organize the other mayors and have our voice heard. I supported the city staff is starting to organize a citizen-based group of community members, and there's many doctors and professionals that are on this group that are going to look at what primary care doctors are here. What, of every type of doctor that we need, what do we have and what do we need? Where are we lacking? And this is going to be a citizens-based group. It's not going to be run by city council. It's just going to be one staff member on it to organize it. But I know several doctors that are involved. Beth Dupree, for those who know her, she was the doctor who came here originally to be, she's a cancer specialist, very highly recognized in her field. She's going to be involved. People that worked with her and left the hospital with her are involved, and I'm going to be working very close with them. If everybody could turn their phones down, please. No, that's, I know it's a problem when it goes on. So, but the point being is we're going to look at this from two angles. Okay, citizens-based and mayors and councils, and try to impress upon the medical organization. Now, for those that don't know, Flo Spiro has left the organization. She was the main, I don't know, was she CFO or president?
CEO.
CEO. She left, and the person who took over for her is named Josh Tinkle. I already have established a working relationship with him. He knows where we're at. He knows my concerns. I shared them with him. And just in that one conversation, he said, the board is listening. Now, I don't know what that means, and I don't want to take any chances, but he says the emergency room is staying for the foreseeable future. They can't, right? So once they start to see that there's starting to be an uproar here in Sedona, which everybody knows there's nothing too small that you can't argue about in Sedona, but medical care is primary. I don't want to go too deep into the details, but this is what I'm focusing on. Healthcare, housing of all types. Okay, and we're doing, we have several projects that City Council is working on that I have supported. Okay, traffic, we are working on. We have a true success rate and reducing traffic times. You just can't, it's a 10-year plan. It takes a long time to get things done. So those are my main issue. Now, I happened to look back at minutes, City Council minutes from 2005, and I saw the same things were on the minutes of concerns. Traffic, housing, and there were no short-term rentals then, but nothing really changes. I want to make a change. And I think where the council that's coming in now is, I believe they understand the issues. I'm very proud to have Kathy and Holly on the council. We have new councils as well, and Jessica Williamson. Everybody cares about housing in their own different ways, and we can't all agree on everything. We're not supposed to, okay? But we're all focused in the same direction. It's how we get there, and I'm gonna do my darndest to get there.
There's one other area, Scott, that you've been very active that I don't think people know about, because you've been such a leader on it, and it doesn't get really publicized, is the OHVs.
Yes.
In a couple of ways. I mean, you've gone down and testified down at the Capitol.
Right.
You've actually looking to introduce some legislation,
Right.
and there's a process to that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Is there anybody who doesn't know what an OHV is? Okay. You know those really annoying quad type vehicles covered in dirt and mud? They come in off the forest. We've got six rental places in town. Well, they get their mud and their dirt from being in the forest 525, and they ride on the roads. There's really no law. It's a lawless community out there. They don't really have speed limits, according to what I'm told by the Forest Service. Excuse me. And it's just an environmental nightmare. but it's also annoying to the community as well. Some people keep saying, well, just don't allow them. Well, they have constitutional rights. Their businesses meet the zoning standards of commercial businesses. So we can't work it to eliminate them that way. But I found that they're registered by Arizona State. They have license plates, but they're registered and they come up as a motorcycle. Well, last time I checked, the motorcycle has 2 wheels. These have 4. And these are much louder than a motorcycle. And these cause much more of an environmental problem than a motorcycle does. So I decided that I'm going to be working with one of our, what I wanted to do is work with our state legislature. I found a representative, Quan Wynn in Prescott, and he is all on board with making some changes to the state legislature, but he's only one and he's interested, but that's not enough. So we work with a lobbying group called the League of Cities and Towns, Arizona League of Cities and Towns, where they represent 91 cities across Arizona. And I presented to them legislation. That's how legislation changes from cities and towns. It goes to the league, they vet it out, they decide if it warrants moving forward, and they liked it. There was a little opposition from cities down in the valley that they use OHVs to get around their farms and to get from one farmland or acreage and acreage away. That's fine for them. We don't have that problem here, but we have a different problem than they have. They don't have short-term rental problems as bad as we have here. So, but we need to change the laws up here. So there was a lot of interest from the League of Cities and Towns. And then I was just contacted a couple of weeks ago by a deputy city manager that Arizona State Legislature wants me to testify before them in a subcommittee. So I'm going to be doing that. This has never been done, to my understanding, by a city council, at least in Sedona. Maybe other cities have done it. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to find a way to get these vehicles off of our roads. Can't get them out of the Forest Service because the Forest Service wants to allow them, but we need to change them being on state road. We can eliminate them on city roads, and we're looking to do that as well, but we have to do an environmental impact study. Okay, and it's a long process. Nothing's easy, but being law enforcement, if anybody is law enforcement, anyone's ever got the ticket or citation, you know that there has to be a law behind why you receive that citation. And if we say we're not going to allow this particular company or this particular person to drive on a city road, that's not law. We have to have a basis for that law because it's environmentally impacting the community. We have these test studies to prove it. Now we can go into court and say, Your Honor, this is what we're basing the law on. And then there could be a guilty or not guilty finding. But we have to base the law on fact, not just on passion. So we're doing that also. So it's a multi-pronged effort that I have started doing this. And it seems to be successful, but it takes time.
Scott, would you like to take a few questions from the audience?
Absolutely.
I see Ronnie.
Yeah, actually, I have a couple of questions.
Go for it.
Speak as loud as you can, Ronnie.
Get the microphone.
Okay. In regard to healthcare, I just received a postcard
Right.
from Northern Arizona Healthcare, where they said that they were directing a lot of their money to improve the hospital in Cottonwood.
Yes.
That they're hiring more doctors, and that type of thing. And that's new to me. And I refuse to use any doctor from Northern Arizona Healthcare because they require their doctors to see a certain number of patients per day. And if they don't, like they have somebody who has really serious situation and they want to be able to spend more time with that patient, they can't because they have to follow their rules.
Right.
And that's why a lot of the doctors have left.
Yes.
Or have gone to, and I recently found a doctor who was fired by them because she refused to
Right.
stick up to that rule, but she's now practicing with another company in Cottonwood. But I'm wondering what's the situation there where they say they're going to be doing these things, and I wonder about it. And just one other thing is, how much influence does the mayor have over the town council? You want to do all these things, which are great, but what if people on the council don't agree? Or how much influence do you have?
Well, I'm one vote, contrary to what one individual in town has been saying, we're one vote. But I think by the fact that we have a really impressive council that agree with me in the direction I'm going, but how we get there, we may all change and how we want to get there. But the core issues, healthcare, housing, short-term rentals, we all agree on that. And I know that only not because I talk to them, because I'm not allowed to talk to more than 2 others on any particular topic. That's called the open meeting law. But I know from previous votes on how they voted on similar topics in the past. The 3 new people coming in, I've spoken to them and I know that they do agree a little differently than all of us do, but the core values they do agree on. So I hope that answers that.
How much truth is there in that postcard I received from Northern Arizona Healthcare?
Well, let me talk to you about, I knew that postcard was coming from 2 weeks ago when I talked with Josh Tinkle, but how many even know that they received a postcard?
Oh, we got it.
Okay,
About half the room.
half the room.
Yeah, we
So-
care was the starting thing. I
Right.
laughed at that. I almost couldn't read the rest of it.
And it was really tiny.
Yes.
And I shared with Josh Tinkle that for 8 years I've been on council, I have been saying that they do a poor job of getting their message out. Their promo is just horrible. And he said, no, we're going to be sending out a card. It's going to be really good. You're going to like this. And I get this tiny little postcard. And I almost missed it because it fell into a magazine. So it might, hopefully there's going to be more information than that coming in other methods. So the information that is on that postcard, that's factual as of the day it was printed. Because I don't know, Josh told me that, yes, they're hiring 3 new primary care doctors that are going to work out of the emergency room building, in the back. But who knows how long they're going to stay? They don't keep people on for exactly the same reasons you said, Ronnie. You're spot on. That's why a lot of doctors leave. And is there anybody who was in corporate America before? Okay, wow, that's great. When you were in corporate America and you lost an employee, did you do an exit interview? They don't.
Oh, jeez.
They don't. So they don't even. They say they don't. They say they don't. That's what he told me. And how do you know why your people are leaving? Because I know why they're leaving. People talk to me. And there's a lot of doctors in town. If you go to my website, electscottmayor.com, you're going to see endorsements from a lot of the medical professionals in town. They have shared, I don't want to go too deep into that, but they've shared a lot of information with me. And I'm taking that information and going forward to make some changes. But Josh Tinkle says that they're going to put money into the Cochrane Hospital, no longer going to downgrade it. And the reason they're going to do that is they're going to be spending close to $1 billion in Flagstaff. But they do need it because the technology in that hospital is way too outdated. It would cost them more money to shut down half the hospital and rebuild it and switch back and forth. They're going to be building a new facility closer to Sedona. It's going to be up by the fairgrounds. Okay, it's going to be state of the art. You would expect that. But that's fine for up there. I'm not going to tell them what they need there. We need something here. And the primary thing is we need doctors. We don't even have a pediatrician here. Now, I don't think any of us have any, pediatrician type, kids anymore. I'm sure everybody has older children, but if we want to bring families here, that's my goal when we do workforce housing, I want to make sure we do workforce housing with families, with children. So we can have them in our schools, so we can regenerate our schools, and maybe we can get Big Park to open up again. Okay, there's a whole lot we can do, but I don't know, Jerry, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, to let you know, there are a couple questions on chat.
I saw Lynn had her hand up before, and then we'll go to some questions from Zoom, and then we'll come back to the audience.
So my question about the healthcare also.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged to hear about the, group of citizens and different mayors and whatever.
Right.
So I don't know how feasible this idea is, because the last time that I knew that it worked was like 30 years ago. I lived in a small city in upstate New York that was in a very depressed area. And a consortium of city council members and the mayor and concerned citizens wooed a department store to come in to help revitalize the area because we didn't have any. So I didn't know if the groups you're talking about considered. I mean, I have no desire to continue with Northern Arizona healthcare for all the reasons that we've said, we've all experienced the same thing. But wooing one of the other groups, assuming that one of those other health conglomerates was any better. I mean, if they all have.
Well,
this-
that's we have to find
I'm
out.
just gonna urge you to keep questions and
Sure,
answers
yeah.
brief so that we can get as many different
Right.
topics in as we
And
can.
because I have to be out of here at 11.
Feasibility of trying to woo.
It's already being worked on.
They are
It-
working on it.
There's a lot involved, but let's put it this way. If you go to my website, alexscottmayor.com, the people that endorse me, the medical people, there's a lot of other people there. I am working with them to do just that. The problem is, where will they come? Where is it? They don't want to build a brand new
Yeah, right,
facility.
that's the place,
So,
yeah.
and as of right now, when I pose that question to people on the board of the hospital, their hospital is not for sale. So you can't buy something that's not for sale, but can we make them decide to change their mind and put it up for sale? I don't know, but everything is on the table. It's a great idea and it's being worked out.
Let's, Al, can you tell us some of the questions on Zoom there?
I can. This is a question from Kathy. How do you distinguish yourself from your opponent?
Well, I'm not going to, I think people in the room know about her. I'm just going to talk about me. I bring years and decades of experience, knowledge. I believe in working with people, not polarizing people. Okay, can we do everything? You know, I think we get most things right. We don't get everything right. I mean, nobody's perfect, but we're going in the right direction. And I know how to get there. I do understand that she thinks that most of the stuff we're doing is a waste of money. She doesn't like arts in a roundabout. I can say that. She publicly said it's a waste of money to have arts in a roundabout. We're wasting our money. She doesn't realize that the money comes from a special bank of money, pool of money for a new construction. They put money into that. So
She's recreation programs like pickleball.
I could, well, yeah, that's right. If anyone who doesn't know, I love pickleball. I can no longer play it. So I injured myself, but I support pickleball. She says it's a waste of time, but yet she challenged me to a pickleball face-off just the other day.
You're gonna debate her?
Yes, August 6th on the Red Rock News, we'll be debating. I'm sorry. Thank you.
We missed it.
We missed it. Damn. See, don't worry about it. October 6th. And it's going to be, but the tickets are all sold out. It'll be on the Red Rock News Facebook page, I believe. And then League of Women Voters, who I'm looking forward to. I always love their events. That's going to be the following week. I think that's the following Wednesday.
At the high school.
At the high school. And everybody can come. Yes,
At
I
the
know.
SPAC, at the
at the SPAC.
Performing Arts Center.
I have to go back to the people online first, then I'll get to you.
Okay.
Al, one more?
What is your plan to address short-term rentals?
Great question. I championed for hiring a lobbyist. Now, I spoke about the League of Cities and Towns, which is also a lobbyist, but they represent 91 cities across the country. They don't focus on one city. I supported and Kathy also supported as well as everybody else, hiring as lobbyist. And we had a change this year, 1168, which is going to give us just a little icing on the cake to start making changes. But what we need to do is we need to bring back local control. The state legislature, when they forced short-term rentals on us, they removed our control of any type to enforce them. Every other city across the country, I'm told, I can find no other, actually every other state across the country, they allow their cities to control it. They allow a cap, which is usually 5 to 6%. We're already at 16% with no cap. Okay, it's horrifying. They allow enforcement of any type, whatever the cities decide they need. Only in Arizona did they remove that local control. So I want to return local control, and I want to take a little bit more enforcement. I think by having a cap in place, that nobody will be removed from the list because everybody's grandfathered in. But once they change owners, and then if they go to an owner occupied, they are no longer short-term rental. It whittles down. It may take a couple of years. There's so much that we can do. The state has to allow us. So I'm pushing again for some changes.
There's also, if I could just add to that, there's things that happen that aren't so maybe directly obvious about the short-term rental impact. Scott has supported the changing of water rates here in the city, which means that the more facilities, so we all know about like in Jablow when they were building those huge houses with the intention of using them as short-term rentals. So these, every time a master or primary bedroom and bathroom goes in as a suite that can be done. Now, if you're building those larger homes with this intention, every time you put an extra water usage on another, what's it called, a terminal, a point of water usage, you're taxed at a different rate. That was something supported.
Right.
That is a way of dealing with some of the short-term rental impact. Nuisance laws, like changes that were made to the sanitation code.
Right.
That have to do with addressing some of the nuisances of short-term rentals as well. So the noise code was changed, which Scott supported very actively to try and bring down, make it easier for noise complaints as well. So there are things that can happen on different levels, not just the big one is, Scott, as you said, is the state,
Right.
but they're little things, everything that the city could do, it's tried to be creative and look at, right?
We're trying to stay within that local control, but as we treat them, we treat you. So we can't, and that's what the state, says, we can't treat a short-term rental, even though they're a licensed business, they're bringing a bed tax and sales tax, which you don't. Okay, you're a resident. We have to treat them the same as you. So whatever we do to them, it impacts you. And that's a concern to me. And I look at that very closely. So
Let's get one more Zoom, and then I think there was a question in the back, and Jerry had a
yeah,
question.
Jerry, I want to take Jerry first.
Okay, here's one from one of your future council members, from Brian Fuchs.
Oh, I know him.
Okay, your opponent talks about needing to return the city to firm financial footing. Can you speak to the city's financial position or strength?
That's a great question. Thank you, Brian. I know you have a little bit of input on that too. So, and knowledge. We're on great footing. Okay, we raised our budget this year. It's the highest it's ever been. Okay, it's $105 million. But that's right. But do you want housing? That costs money. We need to buy land and build into, we want to do public-private partnerships with builders to build workforce housing, which we're doing behind Walgreens on Sunset Road. It's called Sunset Laws, 46 workforce housing, 100% of the building would be workforce housing. Below market rate. It's not, we're not giving away apartments, okay? You have to show that you work here 30 hours or more for anybody in the city. These things cost money. The traffic mitigation costs money. Infrastructure, a lot of that, I believe it's 50% of the budget is regular budget. The rest, 52%, is infrastructure. Okay, if you want to have things in to move forward and the better the city, we need to have a cap. Okay, we may not spend even half of that, but if we don't have a cap of 105 million, we can't spend 105 million in one cent.
Scott, that budget is balanced, what's called a balanced budget, right?
And what's interesting, we win awards for our budget because of our staff, the people we hire that run, because I don't do budgets, Kathy doesn't do budgets. Brian won't be doing budgets either once he's on council. But we hire professional staff. We win awards every year for balanced budget, and for auditing, everything comes clear from audits as well. So we're in a great position. I mentioned before, we were down at a conference a couple of weeks ago. Most cities are not in the situation we are in. They're struggling for a number of different reasons. They don't have tourism. Actually, the tourism cities, there's 7 different cities that have tourism like us. Those are the only ones that are doing well. The others are not. So we should be very happy we're at where we are at. And don't expect us to spend $105 million. It won't happen.
The revenue has surpassed that number anyway?
Yes, it does. Well, and money keeps coming in. For those that don't know or don't realize or remember, you don't have a property tax. You don't pay but 20% of all the revenue that comes in. 80% of the money that comes into our city comes from tourism. So people say to us, tourists do nothing for us. They're running the city, really. They're giving us the funding. So what I like about tourists, and I don't like a lot, but they come here, they leave their money, their sales tax money, and they leave. And we get to enjoy award-winning parks, okay? The infrastructure we have, our roads, not every road is perfect, but our roads for the most part are really good. and they're well maintained. Everything is well maintained because we can have a professional staff that does all these things.
Okay, let's get to Jerry's question.
Before it's a housing thing that I have a little experience in. Just one other thing, I don't like Northern Arizona at all, and I've lost 3 primary care doctors in 5 years. So I know what everybody's going through. But Medicare also has rules that are absurd. I can't see a doctor but about 1 pain in 1 location, even if I got 3 pains in 3 different locations, because of their rules, I have to make 3 different appointments. So there's other things that the doctors will tell you. It's not all their rules, right? It's also Medicare. But housing, I've often wondered, because I did this in upstate New York where we live, in a daycare shortage for workers, which is obviously extreme. If you have a young family, you still need to have your kids taken care of.
And we have that here, by the way.
Right. We got together with industries that had the biggest short daycare problems and said to them, we'll build a daycare facility in RY if you'll pay the cost and make a specific donation thereafter and reserve a spot for your workers. And we give you 3 months to fill it, and then it goes out to the public to use it. And I don't know why we don't work with some of our industries here, particularly the motel, hotel, resort complex, to have them put up money to build facilities that they then get reserved spots for their workers at a reasonable rental going forward. I've never seen anybody working with them on any of this. And that's that is the major industry here that could do this.
Right, well, because does anyone know Denny Dearden, our superintendent of schools?
Yes.
He's pretty amazing. He's truly amazing. He came up with that project about 3 years ago. And they do daycare for the workers in our city. There's, I want to say 200 children that now partake in that. The school is not part of the city at all. They have their own government, their own elected leaders, and they have their own superintendent. But they're doing just that. I would like to see it done on a grander scale. And
Okay, but I'm talking about housing, because I know daycare is still needed, but the housing is the starting point of having young families.
well, it's true. The problem is that the businesses here aren't as affluent. And I'm open to doing something with them. I know that it's not a good thing. It's Enchantment just bought up a whole bunch of houses in Cottonwood. Okay, and people saying they evicted the tenants that were there. They didn't evict anybody, they just let their leases run out. I know everybody had a year's time in which to move, but it still took, it didn't really take the workers and displaced workers because it's Enchantment workers. It's just a different worker. But, you know, we need to do more of that if we can, and anything is on the table. I would be willing to look at anything. If we could work with a hotel and what we're doing with Sunset Lofts, that's a public-private partnership. It's a local builder. We're sharing in that project and we're buying down the rents to make it affordable. So a 1-bedroom apartment would be maybe $1,100 as opposed to 18 now.
And one last thing is regarding the budget, just so I know it's balanced. I know it's about, I know that you don't rely on property tax, which is great, except for I still get stuck with the school tax going up, the fire station going up and stuff like that. So it doesn't really lower my taxes significantly.
Well, that's the city.
It's great that we don't have the city on top of it. That's fine.
Right.
But has the council ever authorized, with council deeply involved, an analysis of where you spend your money and how, to what degree that's even a priority or should be a priority for the city? You're balancing fine, but it might be that you're still wasting money because you're not really looking regularly at the results you're getting for what you spend.
We do every year. We have a budget retreat that we go over with a fine-tooth comb. And we shift money around. And if, you know, we look at that every single year. It's a lot of time. And, you know, some people are saying, we don't need city council to vote on the budget. That's why they were trying to vote down home rule. They said, why don't we let the public vote on the budget every year? And why don't we let the public vote on everything you do?
That's a disaster in the communities I've seen do that.
Of course, but the thing is, we spend, I would say, I can speak for myself, 80 hours going over the budget. Okay, time after time after time. We work with city staff. I'm sure my co-councilors do the same, if not more. Okay,
Doesn't the city also do a community satisfaction survey?
we do a community satisfaction survey, but except for this past year, we have a citizens group overseeing it. It's a budget work group that oversees it as well. And there have been times they've actually supported adding more money to a certain item and reduced it from other places. And they've been pretty much spot on. So we have a lot of input. We have citizens input all the time on everything we do. Unfortunately, the person running against me, Ms. Armstrong, tends to feel that we don't do any outreach. We don't listen to the public. So, and we do it every day.
Reverend Monica, you had a question?
Oh, yes. So thank you for your work on affordable workplace housing. I do have a couple staff members that are struggling to keep where they live every single year when their lease runs up, but also they are interested in using public transportation between here and the village of Oak Creek.
Right.
And then you kind of get stuck at Poco Diablo.
Right.
And so, you know, they've made an effort to use public transportation, but and then there's the expansion of the shopping area there. But not only people in the service industry, but, you know, regular people are just trying to get around, and, you know, they've been trying to avoid buying another car. But is there some effort to connect more with Cottonwood and through the BOC and for public transportation?
Yes. We're bound by state ordinance. We can't spend our money in Sedona in the village of Oak Creek. If we want to extend the bus service to the village, which I think would be critical, I think it would be great, we're not allowed to. So that's why Poco Diablo is the last spot. That being said, there's a lot of work being done by all the counties in the state to impose a lodging tax throughout the state. That lodging tax will be spent on transportation. And working with Randy Garrison before he came out of office, and Donna Michael, and our Coconino County Supervisor, they are pushing to have this tax, and then they would buy into our bus service. We can go to Cottonwood because Cottonwood's paying for that end. Sedona's paying for our end. There's nothing in between, okay? So we can continue, and that's why we have the shuttle bus that goes from Poco Diablo, and it goes all the way around to West Sedona. It doesn't go through Cornville. I want to see a loop. But by state statute, they won't let us do it. They won't let us do a lot of things. It's pretty sad.
Let's take a Zoom question.
Yeah, here's an interesting one. That you'll have some. This is from Jim Williams.
Okay.
What involvement should the city have respect to oversight of the airport? What involvement should the city have in respect to oversight of the airport? There we go.
How did I know Jim? I appreciate that. So, I think I spoke to him once before about that topic. Right now, the airport, it's owned by the county, run by, overseen by the FAA, and they have their own nonprofit board that runs it. It's like a little island. It's surrounded by Sedona. And for the past 5 years, it's been a challenge. They didn't want to follow, what they did in the past, follow our zoning ordinances. They want to build a 6,000 square foot event venue, which is not FAA related or airport related. And that's what they're supposed to have up there. Anything related, like they need a hotel for the pilots, they need a restaurant for the pilots and the traveling public. Do they need an event venue? I don't believe they do, but they're saying that they need the money for that, that's generated from that, to rent it out almost every weekend to fund the airport, so they could expand the airport. Not expand the runways for bigger planes, but they want to expand it to their hangars. But we're just going to be looking at the airport. Some things I can't really discuss too much about it, but it's something that's going to be looked at. And there are a lot of issues, but I think that my personal opinion, we should have more oversight. But it's like with the school board, they have their own government, so does the airport.
Another Zoom question?
Well, it was just about short-term rental.
Okay.
Has there been any progress made with the state regarding modifying and or repealing the short-term rental mandate?
Okay, I think Scott touched on that before with 1168. So I think we'd like to get to another topic if possible.
Let me just touch on it for a second.
Keep it brief.
I had to keep it brief. Katie Hobbs, I've spoken to her 3 times. Okay, she actually called me when I won the primary. I was like really impressed. She is really going to work hard on short-term rentals and local control. So 3 times I've had that conversation because she's been in Sedona at meet and greets, and I've had the pleasure of she's a wonderful woman, very down to earth. So she's gonna be working on that. That's where it needs to come from. And I'll let it go with that.
Let's take another audience question. I see Dusty. Oh, so Dusty's pointing his windows. Hi,
Hi, Kim.
I'm Kim.
go ahead, please.
2 things, and this one's really the most important. What else can we do to help you win this election? I have a yard sign. I'm now going to do some postcards.
Thank you.
Is there any other events coming up that we can tell friends and family? Is there, your opponent has, as we've all seen, a lot of car signs.
I have our songs too, you know.
So that's one thing. This is not as important, but I didn't get to go to city council last week. And I know you were voting, you're so kind to reply to my things about the dog park. Was there a vote on that? And
Yes.
was there money allocated
Yes.
to renovation?
Yes. I supported expanding the dog park to a dog field. Okay, the issue that I had, I don't know if anyone here, I'm a big dog lover, so I supported expanding the dog field for them to play on for all dogs. Yappy hour would be 7 days a week. Okay, from sunup to sundown, but we're going to have an hour because people need to have someone tell them that it's an hour. And that's fine, whatever works to bring people together, I love it. I had a problem when I found out that we would be using 3 million gallons of water to water grass.
Oh.
I'm sorry, you know, and I think everybody here agrees with me, but and I go up to Yappy Hour constantly. And everybody says, we need grass for the dog's feet. Well, I asked the question of the greyhounds, because the greyhounds wanted something special, and we accommodate them too. I said, when the greyhounds run on a track, do they run on grass? No, they run on sand. So in any event, we supported the project. I know Kathy's looking at me like, you know, I gotta make it short, but we supported the project. It's gonna move forward. We're going to expand the existing dog park to a dog field and include the 2 of them together.
Thank you.
No problem. Keep calling.
Yes, and what can we do to help you win?
Well, just talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. I think everybody understands about my competitor. I'm not gonna say anything more about her, but just encourage your friends and neighbors to please vote for me. If you haven't already, ask for a yard sign. I have a clipboard here. I will come personally put the yard sign in because it's tough to get into the ground. So I have a special drill with 2 foot long bit, goes right in. I pop it in. I haven't hit an irrigation line yet, so I'll be pretty lucky. But I will gladly put up a sign. If you'd like a magnet, for your cards, you get 2, 1 each side. I will gladly give you those. Thank you for doing the postcards. That's something that the organization came up with. If you could do 10, 12, 15 postcards to a list that they'll give you. And I think you guys will be absorbing the postage, which I appreciate.
Scott, don't you have an event coming up as well on the 29th, an ice cream social?
You know, I'm glad you reminded me about that.
That's why I'm here.
And she does that so well. We have an ice cream social. It's to talk about some of the things that we talk about today, but encourage your friends who couldn't come today to come to the old Bank of America building for an ice cream social. And we're just gonna sit and talk, or I'll stand and you sit, and we're going to chat.
What's the date for that one?
It's the 29th, which
What's it
is
tomorrow?
a Thursday, the 29th at 1 o'clock at the old Bank of America building. And yep, everybody will have ice cream. Good community event.
The ice cream.
There you go. There's our master
I get an
scooper.
extra big scoop. So much chocolate.
And it's an opportunity for you to bring friends who have not yet met Scott.
Right.
It's an opportunity if you'd like to donate to Scott if you want. And there'll be an opportunity to pick up car magnets and car signs. There'll be an opportunity to do all sorts of things that Scott needs done.
Right.
Scott, do we have a couple more minutes? Let me just check the time here. We have another part of the program where we're going to talk about ballot propositions because that's something that never gets a lot of attention. So we want to leave some time for that. We want to make sure we stay on schedule, but let's get another Zoom question
Well,
in.
this is, like Ryan's making a suggestion. Have supporters talk about Scott on social media.
Yes, oh, that's great. Thank you, Brian. He's always thinking. Yes, if anyone goes on social media, I have a few friends of mine that have been offering to do this, but it's only a few. If you go on social media and you see something, and there's a lot of derogatory stuff out there, if you can jump in and support, if you agree. I don't want you to say something you don't agree with. But certainly there's a lot of misinformation, even in today's Red Rock News, page 3, if anyone hasn't seen it. They brought out the entire page to go against me. So yes, about stuff, most of it is not wrong. They talk about the $105 million budget, but they don't say why. They say that I've raised taxes. We already discussed, we don't have taxes here. Property taxes. But you'll see it's a full page ad, but if you can help just getting the word out any which way.
There's also going to be, there's an effort going on to collect names of supporters for various efforts. If you're somebody who would like your name to be publicly linked as supporting Scott, please do let us know, and there'll be a release form that we can use your name, and you want to get in touch with Toby on that and let her know, and she'll have the form.
I can get the names before they leave today.
Yeah, anybody who wants to add your name on, as I said, this will be used in a couple different ways, but my name is probably going on there, I hope, at the top of the list. So I urge everybody to please sign up with Toby before leaving, so that we can, we can show the community support that is there for Scott. Do we have another audience question? Just 1 second, I'll see if there's, before we repeat. Go ahead, Scott has something first, and then we'll get to Reverend Monica, and then we'll go back to Zoom, and then we're gonna wrap up.
For those that don't know, my competitor is heavily funded. I mean, heavily funded. She was, for the primary, she had $60,000 in the bank, from what I'm told. The financial record shows $55,000. I'm so trying to raise money. If anybody can help in any way, there's envelopes and little tabs here. If you can help in any way, they're on the table. I just grabbed one. There's also my literature and my card. My card has my business, my home phone number on it. I put that out. That's why Kim calls me all the time. That's another way I outreach for everybody. I've done it for 8 years, not just because I'm running for mayor now. I've had my home number out there for 8 years, and which my competitor picks on me because I actually have a phone in the house. But it works. So any other way you can help, I'm open to any new ideas. So
last question from the audience will be Reverend Monica, then we'll go back to Zoom, and then we're going to try and wrap.
Oh, I just wondered if you could speak to the meeting on the 26th from 1 to 3 about the multifamily lobbyists and the real estate industry coming to lobby to change the state law to overrun the local planning zone.
I don't know about overrunning the penalty.
Well, they're wanting to.
Is this the Senate Housing Commission?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a city council meeting.
Okay.
They're coming in, they're going to be holding a meeting. And I mean, I don't know too much about it, except for what I learned at the conference that we just came back from. But it's all run, if the state's coming in, they want to know what's going on with our housing, and we're going to be talking about that. And
So
they're holding a series of meetings at
Throughout the
various
state.
locations throughout the state. Sedona was asked to host one of those meetings, which that meeting will take place in the city council chambers, but it is a committee of the state Senate that is doing their background, looking for their background information on the housing situations for a task force for an evaluation that they're doing. So we urge people to bring your anecdotes of what housing challenges are here in this regional area. This is for the whole region, not just Sedona, to come and speak at that meeting and let the Senate know, so hopefully some dialogue will come out of that.
So it's my understanding that they would allow affordable housing if they were allowed to build as high as 5 to 6 stories within any municipality.
No,
I'm
go ahead.
not aware of that one. There was a bill that was floated in this last session that would have allowed a housing emergency to be declared, and it would usurp, this again goes back to local control, it would usurp local zoning laws, and it would allow builders, developers to come in, again, without restrictions really on who that housing would serve and what income level that might meet, but it would allow basically that sort of building without local restrictions or controls or zoning in place. That did not pass. That doesn't mean that it's a dead deal. There might be attempts at that again. That will probably be one of the items that would be on the plate to talk about that meeting. That is not the only focus. It's a listening session that's being done. I'm sure that that'll come up because yes, there will be some forces that are looking for anecdotes that would help reinforce that stance. But again, I know how Scott feels and I know how I feel and I know how the preponderance of our colleagues feel is that local control is where you meet needs best because you understand the full gamut of the issues, the full pieces of the puzzle that come together, the impact. Because you need to consider things like housing needs, but also community character. You need to consider what will be in place for transportation for people that they can access transportation to get to their jobs where they live. Only local communities. Would you agree with me on that, Scott?
You're doing a great job. You're right, just spot on. Yeah, no.
I'm not running.
Saving my breath.
But Scott's been a loud voice on local control and a loud voice on meeting our housing needs and just a generally loud New Yorker, he's a loud voice and I'm very proud to be supporting Scott and very pleased that he's running and very grateful to him for running because it's not easy. Thank you for that, Scott.
No
Do we have one last question on Zoom before we go to
No,
Scott's?
it's just Rosemary Zimmerman thanking you for addressing some of the questions. She makes the comment, thank you, Scott, for all you, for what you do for Sedona. It's so appreciated. There are multiple untruths being spread by your opposing candidate. The full page ad in the Red Rock News today is a good example. How can we support you to keep this election honest and more positive, to inform rather than vilify?
Well, that's easy. You won't see an attack ad from me at any type, any shape or form. I don't believe in it. She's doing that work for me. I think most people here are educated enough to know facts versus fiction, plus the fact if anyone does have a question on something that city council is doing or I'm doing, I have a phone number out there and I'm going to have the mayor's office phone number out there. You can't find a number for her unless you're a personal friend or you're in the inner circle. You have to email her. You can't call her. She doesn't put that number out. So I think that, there's a lot of misinformation out there, but most people on social media are even seeing that's not true. So, and they check with me. So I'm happy to do that, but it's a hard job. And, this is a challenge. This is a formidable opponent that has a totally different agenda than just being mayor. So that's why, all the DORR members need to know that this is someone I'm taking extremely seriously. And the fact that she's raising money from outside sources, and when I say outside source, I mean out of Arizona. People need to look at that and see. We'll know more come the middle of October. We haven't had a financial disclosure form in about a month and a half, but it's all public record. And from the past records, you could see the money's coming from either one, people who put their employment as unemployed, not retired, but unemployed, and they donate $500. How do you do that? Now, most of my contributors, I'm very fortunate and blessed to have retirees, like most of us here. And, whatever we give, you give. But I wouldn't take money from someone who's unemployed. Nor would I expect someone to give me money if they're unemployed. So, this is who I'm running against. And it's not, it's really smoke and mirrors. It's not what it appears to be. It's something worse.
Okay, but why don't you do a full page, no offense?
Yeah.
And put the correct facts out as you see it.
We're doing it.
And say, she has stated her agenda says, here's what I prefer.
Right.
That's not a negative attack ad when you do it that.
No, and that's coming.
And you need to respond because I've seen her too often in the damn paper and all I get is a sticker from you on the Red Rock News.
It's coming. But she has so much money, she can afford to go with 8 extra weeks. I don't have as much
Well,
money.
tell your supporters how much it costs and ask them to specifically donate to do the full page ad then.
And I've actually had people do that. They sent me money enough to do an ad. So,
Okay.
but it's thousands. It's like $1,400 to do a full page ad. It's a lot of money. My ads are going to be coming out next week. You're going to start to see. It was a 6-week package that I purchased, and we just moved up to 7 weeks. So we're doing more, and it's. I've actually hired a campaign advisor who's fabulous, just fabulous. Anyone know Tom O'Halloran? Anybody? These people work for Tom O'Halloran.
Yeah.
Okay, highly recommended. They now are independent of Tom, otherwise he's too busy. It wouldn't work for me then, but this is a great group of people that are helping me. It's a process. Yes.
The question is important too. Will the debate with Scott's opponent be made available in Zoom? Now, that's a good question because the Red Rock News will be a live Facebook.
Right.
So once you have the link to that, if you put it on DORR's website or your website specifically,
Yes.
then people could go and see it if they don't know how to get to the Red Rock News Facebook page.
I will do anything I
But
can. to
the
get
high
it.
school will probably be an easier recording because it's a different system. And I think somebody's going to be professionally recording that one.
Right, I think so. So,
So important dates to remember, Scott, are that debate is going to be on October 6th. Again, it's live at the Mary D. Fisher Theater, but yes, it'll be a Facebook event and then the link will be captured and put out on Scott's website as well as DORR will probably post a link as well. And then the week after that on the 12th is the League of Women Voters, Northern Arizona mayoral candidate debate at the Sedona Performing Arts Center. Plenty of room there,
right.
lots of seats. Please do show up, come to that. No tickets are necessary. And prior to that, again, back on September 29th, we do have the Ice Cream Social, which is a big venue, an event to meet Scott and get some ice cream scooped by Linda. Very important. It'll be a hot day, so ice cream will be in order.
What time is it on the 12th at the high school? What time is that?
6 to 8:30.
Good question.
6 to 8:30.
6 to 8:30.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
thank you. 6 o'clock.
All right, so I'm gonna-
Scott, do you have any closing things you want to let people?
Just thanks for coming. And it's great to see you live faces instead of just Zoom. I mean, Zoom is nice. I love seeing this. I really like, seeing everybody here in person. Thank you for coming today too. I know primarily to hear me. I really appreciate it, but just whatever you could do. Again, there's envelopes here. If you could help, anything would help. So I do want to get more ads out. We plan on doing more if, the budget allows, but I can't overspend. I mean, even kicking in my own money, I don't mind doing that. It's just, what's that?
She's overspending.
But she has the money coming into her. I mean, there's a very prominent person in town that maxed out 6550 the first week of campaigning, and there's others as well. So anyway.
Scott, thank you so much for being here. Okay, and again, anybody who wants, make sure that you have information, if you want to sign on as a supporter of Scott, that you do see Toby. We do want to go over the ballot propositions because there's something that don't get a lot of attention until the last minute. You get your ballot mailed to you and then you see that, there are all these, what does this mean? Prop 4 XYZ and 3 blah, blah, blah. So we did want to spend a couple of minutes. We have about 20 minutes remaining. If anybody wants to talk to Scott privately, let's take it outside. We have about 20 minutes remaining, so I do want to go over the ballot propositions very quickly. First of all, you'll see props that start with the number 1. You'll see props that start with 2s, 3s, and 4s. Each one of those indicates a different way that it got on the ballot. Things are either done by citizen initiative, or they're referred, they're referendums, they're referred by the state legislature, or they're something to stop something from happening. Those numbers will indicate. But we've got a number of different propositions this year that are going to be on the ballot. It's going to be a very full ballot. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 propositions, right? Plus an 11th if you live in the Coconino County side of Sedona. So I'll go over very quickly what these are. Prop 128 is being called the Voter Protection Act. But what it really is DORR has researched all of these. So we've looked at what civic engagement beyond voting, the positions they took. We look at the League of Women Voters of Northern Arizona or League of Women Voters Arizona what positions they took, and we looked at the Coconino County Democratic Party to what positions they took. And we did our own research and our evaluation, and the board did at its last meeting take positions on all of these ballot propositions. So what you're going to hear are the DORR endorsed positions. So on Prop 128, and there will be a mailing that's going to go out that will have all of that. So you'll get that information. It will be on the DORR website. Prop 128, though, the lawmakers are basically asking to let them amend voter-approved measures. So it's something in the Constitution that we have here is that voters can, bring something forward. We can bring initiatives forward, but this is saying Prop 128 would allow a simple majority of lawmakers. It's not even, a 60% or anything, to repeal an entire voter enacted law if a court deemed that there was something illegal about it. But the problem is that their threshold is very low for that. And this would absolutely interfere with voter approved laws, the work that the public has done to get laws on the books. So this is the same legislature, that we've spent election cycle after election cycle fighting for initiatives that we wanted to see get on. So we don't want to let our voting rights be taken away by state legislature. DORR is recommending a no vote on Prop 128. Prop 129, also, it's another ballot measure that the legislature wants to refer to voters that would limit our future initiatives, again, to single subject. So again, the state taking control away from the local groups that fight to get things on the ballot by trying to limit the amount of topics or the wording that could be used. If this had been in force in 2016, the voter approved minimum wage increase initiative would never have made it on the ballot. And again, that did, and because this was not in place, we are saying, please, the legislature wants to let them restrict our rights. DORR does not believe in that. We say, don't be pulled into voting your own rights away. Vote no on Prop 129. Yes.
Does it limit the total number or within one?
Within one. Prop 130. This is one that is a property tax exemption. And there are some groups that have voted that's taking a yes position. There are some groups that have taken a no position. As I said, DORR did its own extensive research on this, and our position is a yes vote. And the no argument is because so much money is being removed, exemption by exemption, out of state coffers that they want to see further. But DORR feels that this basically restores a property tax exemption for disabled veterans, which were removed. That exemption was removed while other exemptions stayed in place. This would restore the property tax exemption for disabled veterans, specifically for that group. So again, it's a previous exemption. We are saying, yes, please vote yes on Prop 130 to restore that. Prop 131 is the proposition that would establish the office of a lieutenant governor. Some groups have taken a yes position, some groups have taken a no position. DORR has taken a no position for a couple of reasons. Number one, if the system's not broke, we do have a system in place where if the governor leaves office for any reason, is removed, dies, whatever the reason, it is the Secretary of State that our system elevates automatically into the position of governor. That needs to be known. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's part of the importance of the Secretary of State position and why it's so important you know who you're voting for, that they could be elevated to governor. It's happened about 6 times here in Arizona. So we are saying that, yes, we think it's important to leave that system in place. It's Republican lawmakers first proposed creating a lieutenant governor position in 1990. They got it on the ballot in 1994, where it failed in an epic fail, had a 65% voter disapproval. Voters like the system that is in place now. They understand that. They tried again after that failed in 2010 Again, it met with 59% voter disapproval. They tried in 2011, 12, 15, 16, 17, 2019, 20, 21, 22 to get it on the ballot and were unsuccessful, but they were successful in getting in the ballot this time. So again, Prop 131 would ensure that any replacement governor belongs to the same political party as their predecessor. There might be some logic to that I understand that some people accept, but again, know who you're voting for the Secretary of State, and the problem is solved. It shows your vote for the Secretary of State shows that this is somebody that you feel you would be good with ascending to that office. So again, a no vote, please. Also, there are no just specifics designed for the office of Lieutenant Governor. It's a bloat of government again. You would create this office, but there are no specific duties that are outlined for that position that they would be in charge of. So it's really, there's a lot of cronyism that would go into place with that. Prop 132 would require, again, on citizen initiatives that we work hard to put forth on the ballot. It would now require a supermajority. Prop 132 asks voters to restrict their own direct democratic powers by requiring any ballot measure that includes a tax element to get a supermajority voter approval in order to pass. Now, every other initiative, we take simple majority. If something passes by 59%, if it passes by 52%, it passes. This would require supermajority. It's a way, again, of the legislature trying to take away the power of the people for the initiatives that we have placed on the ballot. So again, there's a direct democracy for a reason. Support direct democracy and vote no on Prop 132. Prop 209 is, now we're talking about these citizen initiatives, right? The Predatory Debt Collection Protection Act. The current system that permits creditors to take nearly everything a person owns to repay medical debt. Medical debt is responsible for 40%, two-thirds of US personal bankruptcies. Bankruptcies are driven by medical bills.
Yeah.
This would make sure that Prop 209 would change this. It would protect $400,000 of home equity. If you have a home that's worth $1 million, they can still go after 600,000 of it, but it would protect 400,000 of your equity in your home, 15,000 each in vehicles and household goods such as furniture, electronics, and $5,000 in bank accounts from being seized by medical debt collectors, which have very aggressive predatory collection methods. So please vote no. Vote yes on Prop 208. Vote yes on Prop 208, the predatory debt protection. Vote Prop 211. Voters' Right to Know Act, Stop Dark Money. Who in here signed a petition to stop dark money? I see almost every hand going up. Thank you for that. Finally, it's on the ballot. Getting this in front of voters has been a long time coming. In 2018, hundreds of thousands of Arizonans voted, signed to outlaw dirty money, but Governor Ducey had that overturned and it was thrown off the ballot. In 2020, the initiative tried again, but COVID-19 proved just too hard for the to get the signatures necessary. But this year was successful, and we should have the right to know who funds political campaigns. That is what Prop 211 does. We strongly urge people to vote for Prop 211. Prop 308, don't worry, we're getting through this. Prop 308 is tuition post-secondary education. We're recommending a yes vote on that. You're all familiar with the term dreamers? Okay, so dreamers are undocumented immigrants who were brought here to the United States as children. They've lived here. They've gone to school here. English is usually their primary language. They've gone through the Arizona education system for their primary education. So at this point, if you're a dreamer, if you have graduated from your primary education, we believe that you should be eligible for in-state tuition rates.
Yes.
Right? That is what Prop 308 would allow somebody who has graduated, dreamers that have graduated from the primary education system to have in-state rights. They've lived here. Why would we want to not allow them an in-state right just when they're at the point of getting their college education and are going to become productive tax-paying part of the system? We want to deny them that right. That would push them over into putting money back in the system. It makes absolutely no sense.
Democracy
Please.
depends on an educated public.
Right, please vote yes on 308, so we do have an educated public. Those of you who couldn't hear Linda Scott, shout out. Thank you, Linda. Okay, Prop 309, you go, Linda. Prop 309 is the voter identification proposition. We're asking you, please vote no. We don't want to make it any harder for people to vote. They want to put new voter ID restrictions in place for people who are early ballots and in-person voting. You know how you get your envelopes? Most of the people vote, a very high percentage of Arizonans vote by mail. We started the system. We're leaders of a system that works. There has been no fraud. That has been shot down. Cyber ninjas, that's been shot down. There is just no evidence of fraud, but they want to make it harder. They want you not only to have to sign the ballot, but they want you to have to put the last 4 digits of your social security number. They want you to put your driver's license number. It's so hard and discouraging. If anything went wrong at any level of that, you would now only have the day of voting to rectify something wrong on your ballot. There's no more extended 7-day period because they were successful in that. Please do not make it harder for people to vote. Please vote no on Prop 309. By the way, Prop 309, this was the brainchild of MAGA Republicans. So need to say more. And again, with zero evidence. So
Talking about on 89A already.
yeah, they're to vote for it.
Yeah.
Right. Right, saying they're next to, so that you know, they're right next to the Carrie Lake and the Blake Master sign.
Yeah.
So you can see where the thought process on that goes, right? I noticed that the other day too. Prop 310, we're getting down toward the end here. Prop 310 has to do with fire district funding. Rural areas do not have the same resources that metropolitan areas have where to fund their fire departments. As you know, we live in a fire district. It's not a municipally offered service. It's done independently. Rural Arizona specifically has been hurting in terms of without the same level of emergency medical services. We really need to supplement the rural fire districts. This is a 0.1% statewide sales tax. So if you live in the city, if you live in a rural area, whatever it is, it's equal throughout the state. It's an extra dime, 10 cents on a $100 purchase that would go in. And it would raise about $150 million a year that would be spread across the state equally. No district would get more than 3% of the total, even if you're Phoenix, you're Maricopa, whatever, you're down there where, you know, it would be raising more. It's still going to be spread evenly throughout the state. They wouldn't get more than 3%.
Did you say
So-
1% or 0.1%?
0.1%. 10 cents on $100. Okay. So again, just 1/10 of a penny will ensure that our fire districts and our paramedics, this is paramedics, this is a healthcare, this is who comes when you have a heart attack, this is who comes if you've been in a car accident. This would provide staffing, equipment, and necessary training, protect public safety statewide. Again, 1/10 of a penny to save your life, basically. So please vote yes on Prop 310. And it brings you down to the last one, which is a local issue. Only if you live in Coconino County will you be voting on this. If you live in Yavapai, you voted on this 2 years ago. It's the same thing. It's a county jail tax renewal. Okay, the county jail tax, Coconino County, the current tax was put in place in 2007. It's been renewed since. The current tax is set to expire on June 30th of 2027, but needs to be renewed this year so that it seamlessly would be renewed. If we keep it in the November election, if that passes, it would continue to be the main source of revenue for the jail in Coconino County, which is Flagstaff and Page. But it's a county-wide tax. The extension would bring between $608 million between the 2027 expiration and 2051, which is when the extension would then expire. The jail costs about $22 million a year to run. And the sales tax covers 18 million of that $22 million. It funds all the things that that 18 million weren't there and you were left with that $4 million to run, can you imagine what the jails would be like? The $22 million budget goes into staffing, it goes into security, it goes into meals, it goes into utilities and other general funding operation costs, but it also goes into the programs that are offered, such as English second language, such as high school equivalency, such as alcoholism and substance abuse programs. All of that is funding. All of that would have to be cut out of the bare bones budget. All of that would be cut. Now, here's an interesting thing. The national average in our prison and jail system of recidivism is 70%. Means you go to jail once, you're going to jail twice. You're probably going to jail 3 times. 70%. Guess what the rate is in Coconino County because of these programs? 25 to 30% of the people who are released only return to jail. 30% on the high end, 25 to 30, as opposed to 70%. These programs work. These programs, again, this is a very low amount of money that would go on. It's the extension. You won't even feel it because of the existing sales tax. Please vote yes on that proposition I'll get the number right, 445, the Coconino County jail tax extension. And that is a rundown of all of our ballot propositions. There's additional information that DORR is going to be looking into, such as judges and things that'll come up. We'll do the deep dive on that and get information out as well. Be on the lookout for texts for DORR. Check our website regularly. It gets updated. Go on the elections page. Look for mailings. We'll be sending out a mailing of all of our endorsed candidates, including Scott Jablow, including everyone, Katie Hobbs, top to bottom, bottom to top. Vote your entire ballot when you get it, your entire ballot. Don't leave a stone unturned. If you have a question, call the DORR office. Please do. Our number is 928-212-1357, I think. Roddy, I think, right? Check our website, call our office. We have a couple of quick questions. We've got 5 minutes left before we end today's program. Al?
Just a point of fact.
Yep.
The recording for this meeting, which included everything you spoke about in the propositions, has a chat window, which you can see if you go to the recording.
Great.
And all of the recommendations are there as a list.
Wonderful.
William. Somebody did that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Are there any other quick questions about the propositions or anything else?
No, yeah, I just have a comment. I'm sure that the people in this room know that, but please talk to your friends how important it is to vote the full ballot, top to bottom. And we see what's happened in the state and why we have the short-term rentals here in town, because they don't listen to us. We need to change our state legislator to Democrat instead of Republican. So please tell all your friends to vote for Democrats throughout the entire ballot.
Right. Okay. Yes, Toby.
Karen McClellan said she's running for an office that is just on the ballot for the Village of Oak Creek about doing the
School board?
not for the school board, but for the park is it?
Oh, if you live in DOC, yes, which is an unincorporated area, so it's not within the city limits of Sedona, Cottonwood, or Verde Valley areas, but they do have they do work with the elections to do that for their representation to their village of their Big Park Council, I think it's called,
Big
right?
Park Coordinating Council.
Big Park Coordinating Council. So Karen McClellan is running for that, and yes. So really, if you have any questions anywhere on your ballot, do call the DORR office. We can offer guidance. We are staffed now 5 days a week, Linda?
Tuesday
Tuesday through Saturday from
11 to 3.
11 to 3. There is somebody there who can answer your questions, and if they can't, they'll make sure somebody they can gets back to you. So with that being said, I just
So
wanted to say-
Kathy,
yes,
this is Kathy Rutherford. I just wanted to say, I felt like I didn't explain the movie that's happening this evening well enough to people. It's on our website, but it is about the Scopes trial. And we are now in a place where we know there are book bannings. It feels like we're going backwards. I think it would be a really interesting movie to see. So I just want to encourage people to do that today at 7 o'clock at Mary Fisher.
I'm glad you brought that up because I don't know if people are aware. We'll talk about it tonight after the film. There is a panel discussion. If you're not sick of me yet, I'm one of the panelists. But one of the things that I'm going to bring up that I don't think people know is there was just a movement at the Prescott Valley, in Prescott Valley, to remove books from the library there. Books that have admittedly adult content that were where in the adult section of the library, appropriately so. And what is that adult content? Why do people want them removed? It was because it talked about issues around LGBTQ rights and issues. And there was a movement there to have those books removed from the library, and a movement to lobby the Prescott Valley City Council to stop funding the library. This is where this is going, people. And yes, the Scopes monkey trial, you all probably remember, about evolution and evolution being taught in the public school system. Important piece of our history. This is probably one of Spencer Tracy's best roles ever. And also, where else could you get to see other than on Bewitched, the original Darren in a play in a serious role and do a great job with it. Gene Kelly is in this film as well. I mean, it's a fantastic, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And it's so important that we'll have a great panel discussion. And we're gonna have a raffle tonight too for a basket of banned books with a tea lovers tea and a coffee mug that lists all, or tea mug that lists all of the banned books or some of the banned books on there. So please come tonight, see the movie, be part of the discussion, get this fantastic basket, get in the running for that. 7 o'clock at Mary D. Fisher Theater. Yeah. And it is a fundraiser for DORR. So by coming to the movie and by buying a raffle ticket, you help us bring you local programming that does speak to the issues of the day.
And does DORR get any income from the sale of the tickets?
Yes. Yes, 50%. Yes, we will. Last question.
There is a real threat to our local libraries, especially regarding any books that are related to critical race theory. And especially if they're children's books that are inclusive and expansive, loving people who are of different color than we have. So there's a concern that, about our libraries being attacked physically by burning them down and attacking our libraries.
So people that want to stick around and talk for a few minutes are welcome to. I just want to point out again, Kathy, the date of the picnic, or Toby, the date of the picnic.
Is that October 2nd?
October 2nd.
DORR picnic, where you will also have an opportunity to meet many of the candidates running for office will be there, and you'll have an opportunity to speak with them, as well as another way to support DORR, and also meet the candidates, get educated on the issues. We'll have information there as well. This is what DORR does. Thank you for being a part of DORR. Thank you all for coming. I came in person today. Take a banana or an apple on the way out, please. We've got some fruit left over. Be healthy. Thank you to those of you who have been with us on Zoom. We really appreciate that. And thank you for letting me fill in. I feel honored. Thanks so much. Thank you, Captain Rutherford, our president.